Please, Mr. Just $1. My sister needs medicine. The boy's voice cracked, small hand trembling as he held out a crumpled paper cup. Damien Cross didn't even look down. He stepped around the kid like he was a piece of trash on the sidewalk, his $3,000 Italian shoes clicking against the pavement outside Whole Foods in downtown Austin, Texas. Security, he barked into his phone. There's another one outside the store. Get rid of him. But then the boy said something that made Damien freeze mid-step. You're wearing my dad's watch. Damien's blood turned to ice. He spun around, staring at this homeless kid with dirt on his face and holes in his shoes. The boy was maybe 8 years old. Couldn't possibly know what he was talking about. What did you say? The boy pointed at Damien's wrist. At the vintage Patek Philippe, the one-of-a-kind timepiece worth $1.2 million. The watch Damien had bought at an estate auction 3 years ago. The watch that was supposed to be untraceable. That's my dad's watch, the boy whispered, tears streaming down his face. The one he wore every day. The one that disappeared when he... That's when the gunshot rang out. Someone screamed. The boy dropped to the ground. And Damien Cross, billionaire CEO who'd spent 38 years caring about nothing but money and power, realized that the homeless child bleeding out on the Austin pavement knew the one secret that could destroy everything he'd built. What Damien didn't know yet was that this 8-year-old boy would save his life 3 times in the next 72 hours, that the watch on his wrist was connected to a murder he didn't commit, and that the woman running toward them in scrubs, the boy's sister, would become the only person he'd ever truly love. This is the story of a man who had everything and a child who had nothing, and how one moment outside a grocery store in Austin, Texas changed both of their lives forever. Damien Cross stood at the floor-to-ceiling windows of his penthouse office on the 52nd floor of Cross Tower in downtown Austin, looking down at the city he'd conquered. At 38, he was worth $6.7 billion. His tech company, Cross Tech Solutions, had revolutionized cybersecurity. He owned half of downtown Austin, had homes in Miami, Aspen, and the Hamptons. Forbes called him the tech titan of Texas. Time magazine called him the man who never sleeps. His ex-wife called him a monster, but she'd signed the NDA, so that conversation stayed private. Mr. Cross, your 2 p.m. is here, his assistant Jennifer said through the intercom. Cancel it. I'm leaving early. He grabbed his jacket, Tom Ford naturally, and headed for the elevator. He had a meeting in Miami tomorrow morning. His private jet was already fueled up at Austin Bergstrom. But first, he needed to pick up that special Ethiopian coffee blend from Whole Foods on Lamar, the one they only stocked on Thursdays. Small pleasures for a man who could afford anything. The drive took 12 minutes in his matte black Bentley. His driver, Robert, pulled up to the curb outside Whole Foods. Damien barely glanced at the people milling around outside. Austin's homeless population had exploded in recent years, and he'd long ago stopped seeing them as people. They were problems. Obstacles, things a security team dealt with. He was halfway to the entrance when he heard the voice. Excuse me, sir. Sir, please. Damien kept walking. He'd learned early in life that acknowledging beggars only encouraged them. Please, mister, just $1. My sister, she needs medicine. She's sick, and I don't know what to do, and... Robert, handle this, Damien said without breaking stride. But the kid was persistent. He ran in front of Damien, blocking his path. 8 years old, maybe. Dirty clothes, worn-out sneakers with the sole coming off, hair that hadn't been washed in days, brown eyes that were way too old for his face. Please, the boy begged, holding out a paper cup with maybe 37 cents in it. My sister's all I got. She's been coughing blood and we can't afford. Security, Damien said into his phone, not even looking at the kid. There's another one outside the Lamar store. Get rid of him. He moved to step around the boy. That's when it happened. You're wearing my dad's watch. Damien froze. The words hit him like a physical blow. He turned slowly, looking down at the kid for the first time. Really looking. What did you say? The boy's eyes were fixed on Damien's wrist. On the Patek Philippe that Damien had bought for $1.2 million at a private state auction in Miami 3 years ago. A watch so rare that only 3 existed in the world. A watch that had belonged to someone before him. Someone whose estate had liquidated everything after his death. "That watch," the boy whispered. "That's my dad's watch. He wore it every day. He said it was going to be mine when I grew up, but then he died and everything got taken and—" "Kid, I don't know what kind you're running, but—" "The back," the boy shouted. "There's an inscription on the back. It says, 'To my son Isaiah with love, Dad.' Check it, please." Damien's hand went to the watch instinctively. His blood ran cold. There was an inscription on the back. He'd seen it when he bought the watch, thought it was touching, never bothered to have it removed. He unclasped the watch, flipped it over. "To my son Isaiah with love, Dad." The parking lot seemed to tilt. Damien looked at the boy with new eyes. "What's your name?" "Isaiah," the boy whispered. "Isaiah Bennett. And you're wearing my dead dad's watch." That's when Damien heard the car engine. Loud, accelerating. He looked up and saw the black SUV with tinted windows barreling toward them. Saw the window rolling down. Saw the gun. "Get down." Damien didn't think. He just moved. He grabbed Isaiah and threw them both to the ground as the first gunshot shattered the afternoon air. People screamed. Glass exploded. Damien covered the boy's body with his own as 3 more shots rang out. He heard the SUV's tires screeching, felt something hot graze his shoulder, and then silence. "Isaiah? Isaiah, are you hit?" The boy was shaking, crying, but alive. Damien pulled back, checking for blood, and that's when he heard her. "Isaiah." A woman was running toward them from across the parking lot. Late 20s, long dark hair pulled into a messy ponytail. Wearing scrubs that said Miami General Hospital, even though they were in Austin. Her face was a mask of terror. "Get away from my brother." She shoved Damien aside and pulled Isaiah into her arms. "What did you do to him? What happened?" "Someone just tried to kill us," Damien said, his mind racing. "Who are you? Who am I? Who the hell are you?" She was checking Isaiah for injuries, her hands shaking. "Isaiah, baby, are you okay? Did he hurt you?" "Nia, he saved me," Isaiah said. "There was a car and a gun and he—" "We need to get out of here," Damien interrupted. He could hear sirens in the distance. Police. Questions. Media. The last thing he needed was his face splashed across the news connected to a shooting. "My car. Now." "I'm not going anywhere with you," Nia Bennett spat. She pulled Isaiah closer. "You're the guy who just ignored my little brother begging for help. You're the guy wearing our dad's watch. You think I don't know who you are? Damien Cross, the billionaire who doesn't give a damn about anyone." "Your brother just identified me as wearing his father's watch," Damien said quietly. "And 30 seconds later, someone tried to kill both of us. You think that's a coincidence?" Nia's face went pale. Her eyes darted to the watch in Damien's hand, then to the bullet holes in the Whole Foods window behind them. "Get in the car," Damien said. "Right now. Or stay here and explain to the police why someone wants you and your brother dead." For a moment, she didn't move. Then Isaiah tugged her sleeve. "Nia, please. I'm scared." She looked at her little brother, at the crowd gathering, at the approaching police cars, and made a decision that would change all of their lives. "Fine, but if you try anything—" "I have 6 billion reasons not to try anything." Damien cut her off. "Robert, drive. Now." They piled into the Bentley. Robert didn't ask questions. He'd been Damien's driver for 8 years and knew when to shut up and drive. The car pulled away from the curb just as the first police cruiser arrived. Damien looked at the 2 people now sitting in his back seat. A homeless 8-year-old boy and his sister, who worked as a nurse, but apparently lived on the streets. 2 people who knew something about a watch that connected to a dead man. 2 people someone had just tried to kill. And Damien realized that for the first time in 20 years, he had absolutely no control over what happened next. Robert drove them to Damien's penthouse in the Austonian, the most exclusive building in Austin. They rode the private elevator in silence. Isaiah clung to his sister. Nia's jaw was set, her eyes never leaving Damien. The elevator opened directly into Damien's penthouse. floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Lady Bird Lake, modern furniture that costs more than most people's cars, art on the walls worth millions. Holy crap, Isaiah whispered. Language, Nia said automatically, then to Damien. Why did you bring us here? Because someone just tried to kill your brother. And probably you. And possibly me. Damien poured himself a whiskey. His shoulder was bleeding where the bullet had grazed him, but he ignored it. We need to figure out why. We don't need to do anything, Nia said. We need to leave. Come on, Isaiah. That watch belonged to your father? Damien interrupted. Nia stopped. Her whole body went rigid. How do you have it? I bought it 3 years ago at an estate auction in Miami. The seller said it belonged to someone who died, whose assets were being liquidated. I didn't ask questions. I paid $1.2 million and walked away. $1.2 million, Nia repeated hollowly. For my dad's watch. The watch he saved for years to buy. The watch he promised Isaiah. The watch that disappeared the night he died. How did he die? Nia's eyes filled with tears. They said it was a suicide 3 years ago in Miami. He jumped off a building. But my dad wouldn't. He would never. Her voice broke. Isaiah buried his face in her side. It wasn't suicide, the boy whispered. Dad wouldn't leave us. Damien felt something he hadn't felt in years. Something almost like guilt. What was your father's name? Marcus Bennett. Nia wiped her eyes angrily. He was a financial analyst at Cortez Investments in Miami. He was supposed to testify about something. Some kind of fraud. And then suddenly he was dead and everything was gone and... She stopped, looking at Damien. Why do you care? Because 3 years ago, I had business dealings with Cortez Investments. Damien said slowly. His mind was racing, putting pieces together. They managed some of my personal portfolio. And then suddenly the SEC launched an investigation. The company collapsed. The CEO disappeared. I lost $400 million. My dad was going to testify against them. Nia said he found evidence of embezzlement. He was going to the FBI. And then he was dead. And his watch ended up in an estate sale that I attended. Damien finished. Funny coincidence. They stared at each other. Both of them were thinking the same thing. There was no such thing as coincidence. Someone wanted your father dead. Damien said. They staged it as a suicide. Liquidated his assets. Put his watch up for auction where I bought it. And now, 3 years later, your brother recognizes it in public, and suddenly we're being shot at. You think someone from Cortez Investments is still out there, Nia said. Someone who killed my dad to keep him quiet. Someone who doesn't want anyone asking questions. Someone who just found out that Marcus Bennett's children are alive and in Austin. Damien agreed, which means you're both in danger. Isaiah looked up at his sister. Nia, are we going to die like Dad? No, Nia said fiercely, pulling him close. No, baby, we're not. We're survivors. We've made it this far. We'll keep going. Damien watched them. This woman, who was maybe 27, working as a nurse, raising her little brother alone, living on the streets based on Isaiah's appearance, still fighting, still protecting her family. He thought about his own life, the penthouses, the private jets, the empire, and he couldn't remember the last time he'd fought for anything that actually mattered. How did you end up in Austin? He asked. Nia's laugh was bitter. After Dad died, everything fell apart. The house was foreclosed on. His bank accounts were frozen in the investigation. I was 24, in nursing school at University of Miami. I had to drop out to take care of Isaiah. We bounced around Miami for a while. Shelters mostly. Then 6 months ago, I got offered a nursing position at Dell Children's Hospital here in Austin. Better pay, fresh start. I thought maybe we could finally get back on our feet. But the pay still isn't enough for an apartment in Austin. The housing market here is insane. We've been staying at the Arch Shelter downtown, but Isaiah hates it. So sometimes we just sleep in my car. Or I work overnight shifts and let him sleep in the break room. And during the day, while I'm working, she looked at her brother, shame in her eyes. I ask people for money. Isaiah finished quietly. For food, for medicine when Nia gets sick. She coughs a lot, like Dad did before he. I'm fine. Nia cut him off. I'm fine, Isaiah. But Damien could see it now. The slight wheeze in her breathing. The dark circles under her eyes. The way she held herself like someone in constant pain. You're sick, he said. I said I'm fine. Bullshit. She glared at him. What do you care? You literally stepped over my 8-year-old brother this afternoon without a second thought. The words hit harder than Damien expected, because she was right. He had done exactly that, had spent years doing exactly that, building his empire while people like Nia fought just survive. You're right, he said quietly. I'm an asshole, but right now you need help, and whether you like it or not, we're connected now. Your father's death, my watch, someone trying to kill us. We need to figure out what's happening. And then what? Nia demanded. You go back to your billion-dollar life, and we go back to begging outside grocery stores. Damien looked at Isaiah, at this kid who'd lost his father, lost his home, lost everything, who still had the strength to smile at his sister when she wasn't looking, who'd recognize a watch and change the entire trajectory of Damien's life in 5 seconds. No, Damien said, I don't think it works like that anymore. Damien had spent his entire adult life believing that money was the only thing that mattered, that success meant crushing everyone in your path, that people like Isaiah and Nia were just obstacles. But standing in his penthouse, looking at a homeless child and his dying sister, he realized something terrifying. He'd been wrong. About everything. Sometimes the most powerful stories aren't about the people who have it all. They're about the people who have nothing, and keep fighting anyway. If you've ever felt invisible, like the world just steps over you, this story is for you. Subscribe not because I'm asking you to, but because you know what it feels like to be Isaiah, to be Nia, to be the person everyone else ignores. You're both staying here tonight, Damien said. It wasn't a request. Absolutely not. Nia shot back. I'm not some charity case for you to feel good about. Someone tried to kill you today. Damien interrupted. Where's your car? In the Whole Foods parking lot. So they know what it looks like. They know what you look like. And if they know you're Marcus Bennett's daughter, they probably know where you work. He pulled out his phone. I'm calling my head of security. He'll have a team here in 20 minutes. Until we figure out who wants you dead, you're safer here. I can take care of my brother, Nia said through gritted teeth. I can see that, Damien replied. You've been taking care of him for 3 years, living in your car, working yourself to death. And he's still alive, still smiling, still believing in people. You've done an incredible job. But right now you need help. So stop being stubborn and let me help you. Nia stared at him for a long moment. Then she looked at Isaiah, who was swaying on his feet, exhausted. One night, she said finally, and then we figure this out and go our separate ways. Deal. Damien showed them to the guest suite. 2 bedrooms, connected by a sitting area. Bathroom with a tub that could fit 4 people. Isaiah's eyes went wide when he saw it. Can I take a bath? He asked his sister. Of course, baby. While Isaiah was in the bathroom, Damien found Nia standing at the window, staring out at the Austin skyline. You should see a doctor, he said. I am a nurse. That's not the same. I can't afford a doctor. I barely make enough to keep Isaiah fed. I can afford a doctor. I can afford the best doctors in the world. She turned to face him. Why are you doing this? What do you want from us? I don't know, Damien admitted. It was maybe the most honest thing he'd said in years. This afternoon, I would have walked past your brother without a second thought. I built my entire life on not caring about anyone. And then he said 4 words. That's my dad's watch. And everything changed. So this is guilt? Nia asked, You feel bad, so you're playing hero for a night? Maybe, Damien said. Or maybe I'm tired of being the villain. Nia laughed. A harsh, broken sound. You want redemption? You want to feel like a good person? My brother and I aren't your salvation project. I know that. Do you? Because we've met your type before. Rich people who want to help because it makes them feel better, who show up with checks and cameras, and leave the second it gets hard. We don't need your pity, Mr. Cross. We need—" Her voice cracked. She swayed slightly, and Damien caught her arm. "When's the last time you ate?" "I'm fine." "When's the last time you ate?" he repeated. She pulled away from him. "This morning. Toast. Isaiah needed. My chef is downstairs. Tell me what you want." "Anything." "I want my dad back," Nia whispered. "I want Isaiah to have a normal childhood. I want to stop being so tired all the time. I want—" She stopped, wrapping her arms around herself. "I want to go back to before everything fell apart." Damien understood that feeling. He'd felt it 3 years ago when his wife left, when she told him he was empty inside, that he'd traded his soul for money. He'd told her she was wrong. But maybe she'd been right all along. "I can't give you your father back," Damien said quietly, "but I can keep you safe. I can make sure Isaiah's taken care of. And I can help you find out the truth about what happened 3 years ago." "Why?" Nia asked again. "Why do you care?" "Because your brother was begging for help, and I ignored him," Damien said. "And 5 minutes later, someone tried to kill us both. And if I'd stopped, if I'd listened, if I'd been a better person, maybe we would have seen the car coming. Maybe I would have had time to protect him better. Maybe—" "You save his life," Nia interrupted. "You threw yourself over my brother. You took a bullet for an 8-year-old you'd never met. So maybe you're not as much of a villain as you think." They stood there in the quiet of the penthouse, the lights of Austin spreading out below them. Two people who'd lived very different lives, connected by a watch and a murder and a moment outside a grocery store. "One night," Nia said again, "and then we figure out what happens next." But both of them knew it was already too late for one night. The moment Isaiah recognized that watch, their lives had become tangled together in ways neither of them understood yet. In the bathroom, Isaiah sang softly as he splashed in the tub. For the first time in 3 years, he was warm and clean and safe. And in the living room, Damien made a phone call to his head of security and started asking questions about a dead financial analyst named Marcus Bennett and an investment company called Cortez Investments. The answers he got made his blood run cold. Because Marcus Bennett hadn't just found evidence of fraud. He'd found evidence of something much bigger. Something that connected to Damien's own company. Something that powerful people had killed to keep quiet. And now those same people knew that Marcus Bennett's children were alive. Damien's head of security arrived at 9 p.m. Daniel Park was ex-Secret Service, professional, thorough. He took one look at Isaiah and Nia and didn't ask questions. Just started sweeping the penthouse for bugs, setting up camera feeds, running background checks. While he worked, Damien ordered dinner from Uchi, Austin's best sushi restaurant. Isaiah had never had sushi before. He approached each piece like a scientific experiment, making faces that had Nia laughing for the first time since Damien met her. "What did you find?" Damien asked Daniel quietly while Nia helped Isaiah wash his hands. "Cortez Investments collapsed 3 years ago after SEC investigation," Daniel said, pulling up files on his tablet. CEO was Victor Cortez. He disappeared before he could be arrested. Never found. Company records show Marcus Bennett was going to testify against him. Bennett died 2 days before his scheduled testimony. Suicide. Ruled that way. But the investigating officer retired 6 months later and bought a house in the Caymans. Make of that what you will. Damien's jaw tightened. Who else was involved? That's where it gets interesting. Daniel swiped through more files. Cortez Investments had 3 major clients. You were one of them. Lost $400 million when they went down. I know that. Who were the others? Lawrence Chun, Miami real estate mogul. Lost $600 million. And the third? Daniel hesitated. Jonathan Cross. The room seemed to tilt. My brother? Your brother's investment firm had $800 million tied up in Cortez. He lost everything. His company went under 6 months later. Damien's mind raced. Jonathan, his older brother, the golden child, the one their father had always favored. They hadn't spoken in 3 years, Not since Jonathan's company collapsed, and he blamed Damien for not bailing him out. Where's Jonathan now? Miami. He's been working as a consultant. Low profile. But Daniel's face was grim. 3 days ago, he flew to Austin. The pieces clicked together with horrifying clarity. Jonathan had lost everything in the Cortez collapse. Jonathan was in Austin, and Jonathan had always been willing to do anything for money. Show me the timeline, Damien said. When exactly did Isaiah recognize the watch? This afternoon at 2:47 p.m. The shooting happened at 2:49 p.m. 2 minutes. Someone knew we were there. Someone was watching. Damien pulled out his phone. I need to make a call. He walked into his office and dialed a number he hadn't called in 3 years. It rang 4 times. Then, little brother finally decided to call. Jonathan's voice was smooth, cold, exactly the same. Where are you? Damien asked. That's an odd question. Why do you care? Because someone just tried to kill me outside Whole Foods in Austin, and I heard you're in town. Silence. Then Jonathan laughed, a sound like broken glass. You think I tried to have you killed? That's rich, Damien. Even for you. Did you? If I wanted you dead, you'd be dead. But I'll admit, I'm curious. Why would someone want to kill the great Damien Cross? What did you do? A kid recognized my watch. Said it belonged to his dead father, Marcus Bennett. Remember that name? Another pause. Longer this time. Bennett, the analyst who was going to testify against Cortez. Yeah, his daughter and son are sitting in my living room right now. And 2 minutes after the kid recognized the watch, someone tried to shoot us. Jesus, Damien, what did you get yourself into? I bought a watch at an auction. That's all. But someone wants these kids dead. Someone who knows they're here. Someone who knew we were at that store at that exact time. Are you accusing me? I don't know, Damien said honestly. 3 years ago, you lost everything. You blamed me. You said you'd make me pay. And now you're in Austin and people are shooting at me. You do the math. I didn't try to kill you, Jonathan said, and for once, he sounded sincere. But Damien, you need to be careful. Because if those kids are Marcus Bennett's children, there are people who will do anything to keep them quiet. Victor Cortez didn't work alone. He had partners. Powerful partners. And they're still out there. What partners? I don't know. Bennett never got to testify. But before he died, he sent files to someone. Evidence. Proof of something bigger than just fraud. If those files surface. The line went dead. Damien stared at his phone. Then he walked back into the living room where Isaiah was showing Nia a magic trick with chopsticks, both of them laughing. Nia, Damien said quietly, before your father died, did he give you anything? Files? Documents? Anything unusual? Her smile faded. How did you... Did he? She looked at Isaiah. The boy had stopped laughing, was watching them both with those 2 old eyes. Tell him, Nia. Isaiah said softly. Tell him about the box. Isaiah, Dad said to keep it safe. He said if anything happened to him, we had to give it to someone we trusted, someone who could help. Isaiah looked at Damien. Maybe he's that person. We don't know him, Nia protested. He saved my life. Isaiah said simply, Dad would have liked him. Nia's eyes filled with tears. She reached into her bag, a worn canvas thing that had seen better days, and pulled out a small metal box. It was locked, scuffed, about the size of a shoebox. Dad gave this to me the night before he died, she said. He made me promise to keep it hidden, to never open it unless I absolutely had to. He said people would come looking for it. He said, her voice broke. He said if I wasn't careful, they'd kill me and Isaiah to get it. What's inside? I don't know. I've never opened it. I don't have the key. And honestly, I've been too scared to try. Damien took the box carefully. It was heavier than it looked. And on the bottom, barely visible, was a label. Cortez Investments, Confidential. This is what they want, Damien said. This is why they're after you. Your father's evidence. Whatever he was going to testify about. It's in this box. Can you open it? Nia asked. I can, but once we do, there's no going back. If what's in here is what I think it is, we're at war with people who've already killed to keep their secrets. They killed my dad, Nia said, her voice steel. They took everything from us. They've been hunting us for 3 years. So yeah, Mr. Cross, open the damn box. Damien looked at Isaiah. You sure about this, kid? Isaiah nodded. My dad was a good man. He wouldn't have wanted us to hide forever. He'd want us to fight. So Damien called Daniel back in, and together, they opened the box that Marcus Bennett had died to protect. Inside were 3 flash drives, a burner phone, and a handwritten note that made Damien's blood run cold. If you're reading this, I'm already dead. The evidence on these drives will destroy Cortez and everyone involved. But be careful. One of the partners is someone you know, someone powerful, someone who will kill anyone who gets in their way. Trust no one. Protect my children. And finish what I started. Marcus Bennett. Who's the partner? Nia whispered. Damien was already plugging in the first flash drive, files open on his laptop, spreadsheets, bank transfers, shell companies, and names. So many names. Victor Cortez, Lawrence Chun, various offshore accounts. And at the very top of the list, highlighted in red, Jonathan Cross, primary partner, Damien's brother, the one who just called him, the one who'd said he didn't try to kill him, the one who'd been working with Victor Cortez all along. Call the FBI, Damien said to Daniel, right now, and get everyone we have here, because my brother just declared war. Things happened fast after that. Daniel made the call to his FBI contact. Agents were dispatched, but it would take them 45 minutes to arrive. Austin's field office was on the other side of the city. 45 minutes. That's all they had to hold out. We need to move them, Daniel said, looking at Isaiah and Nia. Get them somewhere safe. My team can... No, Damien interrupted. We move them. We expose them. This building has top-level security. Every entrance is monitored. We lock down and wait for the FBI. Damien, if your brother knows they're here, he's known for hours. If he was going to make a move, he would have done it already. That's when the power went out. The penthouse plunged into darkness. Emergency lights kicked in, casting everything in an eerie red glow. Isaiah grabbed his sister's hand. Nia pulled him close. What's happening? She asked. Someone cut the power to the building, Daniel said, pulling his gun. But that's impossible. We have backup generators. They should have. An explosion rocked the floor below them. The windows rattled. Isaiah screamed. They're coming, Damien said. He grabbed Nia's arm. The panic room. Now! Every billionaire in Austin had one. A reinforced safe room hidden somewhere in their penthouse. Damien's was behind a false wall in his bedroom. He never thought he'd actually need it. They ran. Daniel covered them, speaking rapidly into his radio. All units were under attack. Building is compromised. Repeat, building is compromised. They made it to Damien's bedroom. He pressed his hand against the wall panel. Nothing happened. The power was out. The biometric lock was dead. Backup code, Daniel barked. Damien's mind went blank. He'd set the code 3 years ago and never thought about it again. What was it? Think. Glass shattered in the living room. Someone was inside. Damien! Nia shouted, and then Isaiah said something that changed everything. Try Dad's birthday. The code. Try my dad's birthday. I don't know your father's birthday, Damien said. March 15th, 3:15. Try it. Damien punched in 0-3-1-5. The wall clicked. A door swung open. How did you know that would work? Nia asked as they piled inside. I didn't, Isaiah said. I just had a feeling. The panic room was small, maybe 8 by 10 feet. Reinforced walls. Independent air supply. Emergency supplies. And a direct line to the police. Damien grabbed the phone. Dead. Whoever cut the power had cut that too. We're trapped, Nia said. We're safe? Damien corrected. This room can withstand anything. We just have to wait for the FBI. And if they don't get here in time, on the other side of the door, they heard footsteps, voices. Find them. They're here somewhere. Damien recognized that voice. Jonathan, brother. Jonathan called out, I know you can hear me. That panic room won't protect you forever. I have shaped charges that can blow through that door in 30 seconds. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to send out Marcus Bennett's children. You're going to give me those flash drives. And then I'm going to walk away and forget this ever happened. And if I don't, Damien called back. Then I'd blow the door, kill everyone inside, take the drives anyway, and pin it all on you. Dead billionaire, murdered family, tragic home invasion. I walk away clean. Isaiah was trembling. Nia held him close, whispering that it would be okay. But her eyes met Damien's, and he could see the fear there. Why did you do it? Damien asked, stalling. Why partner with Cortez? You had everything. I had nothing. Jonathan's voice cracked. You were always the favorite. Dad's golden boy. The one who could do no wrong. I was just the older brother who never measured up. So when Cortez offered me a chance to make real money, to be someone, I took it. And you killed Marcus Bennett. I didn't pull the trigger. But yeah, I made the call. He was going to destroy everything. All our hard work. All our planning. One analyst decides to grow a conscience, and suddenly we're all going to prison? I don't think so. You murdered a father, Nia shouted. You took him from his children. You destroyed our lives. Business is business, sweetheart. Nothing personal. You're a monster, she spat. I'm a survivor. Now send out the kids, Damien. This is your last chance. Damien looked at Isaiah and Nia, at this brother and sister who'd lost everything, who'd been running for 3 years, who'd fought and survived and still believed in people despite everything. He looked at Daniel, who was already assembling what looked like a weapon from the emergency supplies, and he made a decision. No! Damien called out. You want them? Come get them. Silence. Then Jonathan laughed. You're willing to die for 2 homeless kids you met this afternoon? The Damien Cross I know doesn't care about anyone. Yeah, Damien said, I'm not that person anymore. And that's when the FBI burst through the front door. In that panic room, waiting to see if he'd live or die, Damien realized something profound. For 38 years, he measured his life in dollars, in deals, in wins and losses. He'd built an empire and called it success. But standing between a killer and 2 innocent children, he finally understood what actually mattered. Not the money, not the power. Just the choice to protect someone who couldn't protect themselves. Isaiah and Nia didn't need a hero. They needed someone to see them as human beings worth saving. And for the first time in his life, Damien did. If you ever felt like you don't matter, like you're invisible to the people who could help you, subscribe. Because this story is about what happens when someone finally stops looking away. When someone finally chooses to see you. The FBI arrested Jonathan Cross in Damien's living room, charged with conspiracy to commit murder, racketeering, fraud, and a dozen other crimes. The flash drives Marcus Bennett had died to protect contained enough evidence to bring down not just Jonathan, but 15 other people connected to Cortez investments. Victor Cortez himself was found 3 days later in Argentina, extradited, facing life in prison. And in the middle of it all, Damien Cross made the newspapers for something other than business. Billionaire saves homeless children from assassins. Tech CEO risked life to protect murder victims' family. The media loved the story. Damien hated it. He didn't want to be a hero. He just wanted to make sure Isaiah and Neil were safe. The FBI kept him in protective custody for a week while they processed the evidence. Damien visited every day, brought Isaiah books and toys, made sure Nia saw doctors about the cough she kept downplaying. The diagnosis came back on day 5, early-stage pneumonia, complicated by chronic malnutrition and stress. Treatable, but serious. You could have died, Damien told her. I didn't have time to die, Nia said. Isaiah needed me. He still needs you, but you can't take care of him if you're dead. She smiled tiredly. Is this the part where you write me a check and feel good about yourself? No, Damien said. This is the part where I ask you to let me help. Really help. We've been over this. I'm not offering charity. I'm offering a job. He pulled out a folder. Crosstech Solutions needs a new head of our employee wellness program. It pays $120,000 a year, full benefits, housing allowance. The position is based in Austin. Nia stared at the folder. You're offering me a job? I didn't even finish nursing school. You've kept yourself and your brother alive for 3 years on minimum wage and determination. You're exactly the kind of person I want running wellness programs for my employees. People who understand what it's like to struggle, who actually care. I can't. Yes, you can, but there's a condition. Her eyes narrowed. Of course there is. You finish your nursing degree. Part-time, online, whatever works. Crosstech will pay for it. And when you graduate, you get a raise. Why are you doing this? Nia asked for what felt like the 100th time. Because 3 weeks ago, I stepped over your 8-year-old brother without a second thought. Damien said quietly, because I've spent my entire life being the kind of person who doesn't care. And I'm tired of it. I want to be better. And maybe, he stopped, started again. Maybe you and Isaiah can teach me how. Nia's eyes filled with tears. I don't know how to be the person you're asking me to be. Good, because I'm not asking you to be anyone but yourself. I'm just asking you to let me help. She wiped her eyes. If I say yes, and that's a big if, where will we live? I own a property near Zilker Park. 3 bedrooms, yard, quiet street. It's been sitting empty for 2 years. You'd be doing me a favor by living there. You own an empty house and you're just letting it sit there while people are homeless? I'm aware of the irony. Mr. Cross. Damien, I don't know you. We met 3 weeks ago in the worst possible circumstances. You're offering me a life-changing opportunity, and I don't know if I can trust it. What if you change your mind? What if this is some billionaire whim, and in 6 months you decide you're bored and we're back on the streets? Then I'd be breaking a promise, Damien said. And I don't break promises. Not anymore. They stared at each other. 2 people from completely different worlds, connected by a watch and a murder and a moment that changed everything. I need to think about it, Nia said. Fair enough. Take all the time you need. But that night, Isaiah made a decision for her. I like him, Nia, the boys said as they sat in their protective custody hotel room. He reminds me of Dad, the way Dad used to be before he got scared. Dad was never scared. Yes, he was. Those last few weeks. He was terrified, but he still did the right thing. He still tried to stop the bad guys. And Mr. Cross, Damien, he did the same thing. He protected us when he didn't have to. Dad would have liked him. Nia pulled her brother close. You really think we should do this? I think we've been running for 3 years. Isaiah said, maybe it's time to stop running. Maybe it's time to let someone help us. So the next day, Nia called Damien and said yes. 6 months later, things looked very different. Nia started at Crosstech on a Monday in April. Her office overlooked Lady Bird Lake, the same view from Damien's penthouse, just 50 floors lower. She'd never had her own office before, had never made more than minimum wage. The salary felt like monopoly money, but she was good at the job, really good. Within 3 months, she'd redesigned the entire employee wellness program, adding mental health services, child care assistance, and financial literacy classes. The kind of things she wished she'd had access to 3 years ago. Isaiah enrolled at Zilker Elementary. He made friends, joined the soccer team, started seeing a therapist to deal with the trauma of losing his father, and 3 years on the streets. Some days were better than others, but slowly, he was learning to be a kid again. And Damien started showing up to work less, started delegating more, started spending his afternoons at Isaiah's soccer games, and his evenings having dinner with Nia and her brother in a house he'd given them. It wasn't romantic. Not at first. It was just 2 people who'd been through hell together, learning how to be friends, learning how to trust. Nia teaching Damien about resilience and hope. Damien teaching Nia that not everyone with money was heartless. But somewhere around month 4, something shifted. It was a Saturday. Damien had taken Isaiah to a Longhorns game. Texas was playing OU, and Isaiah had never been to a college football game before. Nia had stayed home, exhausted from her nursing classes and a long week at work. They came back around 7 p.m., Isaiah practically bouncing off the walls with excitement. Nia, it was amazing. The stadium was so big, and everyone was singing, and we had nachos, and Damien taught me about downs, and he kept talking, but Nia wasn't listening. She was looking at Damien, at the way he ruffled Isaiah's hair, the way he smiled, a real smile, not the corporate mask she'd seen in all those magazine photos, the way he'd somehow become a fixture in their lives without either of them noticing. "You okay?" Damien asked. "Yeah," Nia said, "just tired." But later, after Isaiah had gone to bed, she found Damien in the kitchen making tea. He'd learned she liked chamomile before bed, had learned a lot of small things about her over the past few months. "Thank you," she said, "for today, for all of this, for—" "Nia, you don't have to thank me." "Yes, I do, because 6 months ago, you didn't have to help us. You didn't have to risk your life. You didn't have to give me a job or a home or any of this. You could have walked away and we'd still be out there, running, scared. But you didn't. You stayed. And I need you to know that it matters." Damien set down his tea. "Can I tell you something?" "Okay." "The day I met you, I was flying to Miami for a meeting. Some big acquisition. I don't even remember what it was. I remember thinking that buying that Ethiopian coffee was the most important thing I'd do that day. And then Isaiah stopped me outside the store and everything changed. Because someone tried to kill you. Because for the first time in 20 years, I felt something other than empty." He looked at her. "You and Isaiah, you saved my life. Not from the bullets. From becoming the kind of person who is everything and feels nothing. You're not that person. I was, but not anymore." They stood in the quiet kitchen, the lights of Austin visible through the window. And Nia felt something she hadn't felt since her father died. Hope. Real, terrifying hope that maybe her life could be more than just survival. "Damien? Yeah. I think I'm starting to really like you. Not grateful because you saved us actually like. And that scares me." "Why?" "Because everyone I've ever loved has been taken from me. My parents, our home, everything. And I can't," her voice broke, "I can't lose anyone else." Damien crossed the kitchen and took her hands. "You're not going to lose me. You don't know that. You're right. I don't. But I know that I'm not going anywhere. I know that whatever this is between us, it's real. And I know that I've spent 38 years not caring about anything. But I care about you. And Isaiah. And that matters more than any business deal or acquisition or $1 billion. "This is crazy," Nia whispered. 6 months ago, I was homeless. You were a billionaire who stepped over my brother. We're from completely different worlds. Screw our worlds. We made a new one. Together." And then he kissed her. It was soft, tentative, nothing like the confident billionaire the world saw. It was just a man who'd finally learned to feel something, kissing a woman who'd taught him how. When they pulled apart, Nia was crying. Good tears or bad tears? Damien asked. "I don't know yet," she admitted. "Ask me tomorrow." But when tomorrow came, and the day after that, and the week after that, the answer was clear. Good tears. The best tears. Because for the first time in 3 years, Nia Bennett felt like she was home. 1 year after they met, Damien took Nia and Isaiah back to the Whole Foods on Lamar. "Why are we here?" Isaiah asked. He was 9 now, taller, healthier, happy. So different from the hollow-eyed boy who'd beg for money outside this store. Because this is where it started, Damien said. They stood in the parking lot, right where Isaiah had stopped Damien that afternoon, right where someone had tried to kill them, right where everything changed. "You know what I think about sometimes?" Isaiah said, "What would have happened if you'd given me $1 that day? If you'd just handed me money and walked away? Would any of this have happened?" "No," Damien admitted. "Probably not." so it's good you were kind of jerk. Isaiah. Nia said, but she was laughing. It's true. Isaiah protested. If he'd been nice, he would have given me money and left. But he was a jerk, so he ignored me. So I had to chase him, so I saw the watch, so everything happened. Sometimes being a jerk works out. That's not the lesson here, Nia said. But it's true. Damien laughed. Kid's got a point. They walked into the store. It was early Sunday morning, not crowded yet. Damien led them to the coffee aisle, where he'd been headed that day. Ethiopian coffee, he said, picking up a bag. This is what I was buying when everything changed. I thought it was the most important thing I'd do that day. Buy coffee. And instead you saved us, Nia said softly. No, you saved me. He set down the coffee and turned to face her. I've been thinking about what Isaiah said, about what would have happened if I'd been different that day, if I'd stopped and listened instead of walking away. And I realized something. What? I'm glad I was a jerk. Because if I'd been the person I am now, the person you and Isaiah taught me to be, I would have stopped. I would have helped. I would have given Isaiah money and sent you both to a shelter and felt good about myself. And then I would have gone back to my life and never seen you again. But you didn't. No, I was an asshole. I stepped over a child begging for help. And that asshole behavior led to the best thing that ever happened to me. It led to you, to this family, to finally understanding what actually matters. Damien, let me finish. He pulled something from his pocket. A small box. I know this is fast. I know we've only known each other a year. I know there are 1,000 reasons this doesn't make sense. But I don't care about any of them. Because you and Isaiah, you're my family. You're the only thing in my entire life that feels real. And I want to make it official. He opened the box. Inside was a ring. Simple, elegant, perfect. But before he could say anything else, Isaiah spoke up. Wait, I have something to say first. Isaiah, this isn't the time. Nia started. Yes, it is. The boy pulled out a piece of paper from his pocket. Damien asked me yesterday if it would be okay if he married you. And I said yes. But I told him I want to say something first. Okay, Nia said, her voice shaking. Isaiah unfolded the paper. His hands were trembling. Dad died 3 years ago. And for a long time, I thought we'd never be a real family again. It was just you and me, Nia. And that was good. You're the best big sister ever. But I missed having a dad. I miss having someone who... His voice cracked. Damien knelt down to Isaiah's level. Take your time, kid. Isaiah wiped his eyes. What I'm trying to say is, I know you're not my real dad. And I know you didn't have to care about us. But you did. You saved us. You gave us a home. You taught me about football and business and how to be a good person. And I want... He looked at Nia, then back at Damien. I want you to be my dad. For real. If that's okay. The grocery store around them seemed to fade away. Damien pulled Isaiah into a hug. This boy who'd lost so much and still had the courage to hope. It's more than okay, Damien whispered. It's everything. When they pulled apart, both of them were crying. And Nia was staring at both of them with tears streaming down her face. So, Damien said, turning back to her, what do you say? Want to make this official? Nia looked at the ring, at Damien, at her little brother who'd found a father, at the life they'd built from nothing. Yes, she said. Yes, 1,000 times yes. He slipped the ring on her finger right there in the Whole Foods coffee aisle. And when he kissed her, a few early morning shoppers clapped. Isaiah took a photo on his phone. His first phone, a gift from Damien for his 9th birthday. The picture was slightly blurry, but it captured everything. Damien and Nia kissing, the ring on her finger, the happiness on all their faces. Later, he'd frame that photo, put it on the mantel of the house they all shared. And every time Damien looked at it, he'd remember the day he became part of a family, not through blood, but through choice, through showing up, through being there when it mattered, through learning that sometimes the best things in life come from the worst moments, from the days when you're at your absolute lowest, and someone decides to see you anyway. 6 months later, They got married on the lawn of the house near Zilker Park. Small ceremony. Just 50 people. Isaiah was the ring bearer. Daniel Park was Damien's best man. Nia's best friend from nursing school. She'd gone back and finished her degree. Was her maid of honor. But the most important guest wasn't invited. He was already there, in spirit. On a table near the altar, they'd placed a photo of Marcus Bennett, smiling happy, wearing his Patek Philippe watch. The watch that had started everything. Thank you, Dad. Nia whispered to the photo before the ceremony. For being brave enough to do the right thing. For protecting those files. For leading us to Damien. I wish you were here to walk me down the aisle. But I feel you. I know you're proud. Isaiah stood beside her, wearing his first suit. Do you think Dad knows? Like wherever he is? I think he knows, Nia said. I think he's been watching over us this whole time. Making sure we ended up exactly where we needed to be. The ceremony was beautiful. Traditional vows with a few personal additions. When it came time for Damien to speak, he pulled out a piece of paper. A year and a half ago, he read, I was the kind of person who stepped over a child begging for help. I was the kind of person who measured my life in dollars and acquisitions and wins. I thought I had everything, but I had nothing. He looked at Nia, and then you and Isaiah appeared in my life. And you didn't ask for much. Just $1. Just a moment of kindness. And I couldn't even give you that. But you gave me something anyway. You gave me a second chance. A chance to be better. To be the kind of person who actually deserves a family like this. He folded the paper. I can't promise I'll be perfect. I can't promise I won't mess up. But I promise I'll show up. Every day. For you. For Isaiah. For our family. I promise I'll never walk away. And I promise I'll spend the rest of my life being worthy of the love you've given me. There wasn't a dry eye in the crowd. When it was Nia's turn, she didn't have notes. She just spoke from the heart. 3 years ago, I thought my life was over. I'd lost my father, my home, everything I loved. I was 24 years old with an 8-year-old brother to raise. No money, no degree, no hope. And I told myself that surviving was enough. That keeping Isaiah alive was enough. That I didn't deserve anything more. She took Damien's hand. And then you appeared. This billionaire who was everything I thought I hated. Arrogant, cold, selfish. But you know what? You saved us anyway. You protected us when you didn't have to. You gave us a home when we had nowhere to go. And you taught me that people can change. That redemption is real. That love can come from the most unexpected places. She smiled through tears. You're not perfect. You're still learning how to care about people. You still forget that normal people can't afford to buy restaurants on a whim when they want lunch. But you're mine, and I'm yours, and together we're a family. The officiant pronounced them husband and wife. They kissed while 50 people cheered. And as they walked back down the aisle, Damien caught Isaiah's eye. The boy gave him a thumbs up. And mouthed, "Thanks, Dad." Damien had to stop walking for a second. Had to take a breath. Had to process the fact that this 9-year-old boy, who lost everything and still believed in people, was calling him Dad. "You okay?" Nia whispered. "Never better," Damien said, and meant it. The reception was at the house. Barbecue from Franklin's, Austin's best. Live music. Dancing under string lights. Isaiah taught Damien's 75-year-old mother how to do the floss, which was hilarious and slightly terrifying. At one point, Damien found himself standing with Daniel Park, watching Nia dance with Isaiah. "You did good, boss," Daniel said. "I got lucky." Luck is what happens when you make the right choice at the right time. You could have walked away that day at Whole Foods. You didn't. That wasn't luck. That was you choosing to be better. I wasn't better. I was a jerk who stepped over a kid begging for help. And then you saved his life and gave him a family and became the man you were always supposed to be. Daniel clinked his beer against Damien's. That's not luck. That's redemption. Later, when the party was winding down, Damien and Nia snuck away to the backyard. They sat on the porch swing, watching fireflies in the warm Austin night. "We did it," Nia said softly. "Did what?" "Build a life. A real life. The kind I thought we'd never have again. We did it together. No, you did it. You gave us everything. Nia, you gave me more than I ever gave you. You gave me a family. You gave me purpose. You gave me a reason to be better. He pulled her close. I love you, more than I thought I could love anyone. I love you too, even when you're being a stubborn billionaire. Especially when I'm being a stubborn billionaire. They sat in comfortable silence, watching their wedding guests filter out, watching Isaiah chase fireflies with other kids, watching their life unfold exactly the way it was supposed to. Damien? Yeah. Thank you for not giving Isaiah $1 that day. He laughed. That's a weird thing to thank me for. I know, but if you'd been kind instead of jerk, none of this would have happened. We wouldn't be here. So thank you for being exactly who you were, because it led us to exactly who we are. A family, Nia agreed, and somewhere, in whatever place Marcus Bennett had gone, a father smiled, because his children were safe, because his sacrifice hadn't been in vain, because the files he died to protect had brought down the people who destroyed so many lives, but most of all, because his daughter had found love, and his son had found a father, and they were happy, everything he'd ever wanted for them. Damien Cross spent 38 years believing that success meant money, power, and winning at all costs. He built an empire, conquered a city, had everything the world said mattered, but it took a homeless 8-year-old boy to teach him what actually matters. Family, love, showing up, being there when people need you. Isaiah and Nia didn't need a billionaire to save them. They needed someone to see them as human beings worth protecting. And the moment Damien did that, he became more than successful. He became whole. If this story reminded you that people are more than their circumstances, that everyone deserves to be seen, subscribe. Not for me, for every Isaiah and Nia out there, still waiting for someone to stop and listen. For everyone who's ever been invisible, hoping someone will finally see them. 5 years after that day outside Whole Foods, the Cross family looked very different. Isaiah was 14 now, straight-A student, captain of his soccer team, already talking about MIT for college. He still had nightmares sometimes about his father's death, about the years on the streets. But he had a therapist, and a family, and a future. Nia had finished her nursing degree and now ran Cross-Tech's entire healthcare division. She'd expanded it to include free clinics in underserved Austin neighborhoods. She knew what it was like to need help and not be able to afford it. She made sure no one else had to go through that. And Damien? Damien had stepped down as CEO 2 years ago, promoted as COO, stayed on as chairman, but spent most of his time on philanthropy. The Cross Foundation now provided scholarships, housing assistance, and job training to homeless families across Texas. Every year on the anniversary of the day they met, the family went back to that Whole Foods. They stood in the parking lot where it all began, and they each put $1 in the cup of whoever was out there asking for help. Because you never know, Damien always said, you never know whose life you might change with one moment of kindness. On this particular anniversary, there was a teenage girl outside the store, maybe 16, holding a sign, homeless. Anything helps. God bless. Isaiah walked up to her first. He didn't just put $1 in her cup. He sat down next to her. What's your name? Christina, she said quietly. I'm Isaiah. This is my family. He gestured to Damien and Nia. 5 years ago, I was sitting right where you are, begging for help. And this guy, he pointed at Damien, he walked right past me, didn't even look at me. Christina's face fell. Oh. But then something happened, and he came back, and he saved my life. And now he's my dad, and we're family. And I'm telling you this because I want you to know something. What? You're not invisible. You matter, and it gets better. I don't know how or when, but it does. So don't give up, okay? Christina's eyes filled with tears. Okay. Isaiah stood up. Then he pulled out his phone. He was 14. Of course he had a phone. And showed her a picture. It was the blurry photo from the engagement at Whole Foods. Damien and Nia kissing. Isaiah grinning. All of them happy. That's us, Isaiah said. 5 years ago. Right here, where you are now. And look at us now. He handed her his business card. Yes, 14-year-old Isaiah had business cards because he was Damien's son and kind of extra like that. That's the number for the Cross Foundation. You call them tomorrow. Tell them Isaiah sent you. They'll help you. Get you housing, job training, whatever you need. Okay. Why would you do that? Christina whispered, because 5 years ago, someone gave me a second chance. Now I'm paying it forward. Damien watched his son, a word that still made his chest tight, help this girl. Watched him offer hope to someone who had none. Watched him be the kind of person Damien had never been until Isaiah taught him how. You raise him well, Nia said softly, taking Damien's hand. We raise him well, Damien corrected. No, this is all you. He learned this from you. From watching you choose to be better every single day. I learned it from you, from him, from this family. They stood there watching Isaiah talk to Christina, watching him give her the same hope he'd once needed. And Damien felt something he'd never felt in his first 38 years of life. Complete. Oh, home. His phone buzzed. A text from his assistant. Board meeting tomorrow at 9 a.m. Need you to review the quarterly reports. Damien looked at the text, then at his family. Then he typed back, cancel it. I'm busy. Busy with what? He looked at Nia and Isaiah, at the life they'd built together, at the family that had saved him from himself. Being present, he typed. Being where I'm needed. Being the person I always should have been. And he put the phone away. Because the quarterly reports could wait. The board could wait. Everything could wait. What mattered was right here. This moment. This family. This life they'd built from one terrible, beautiful day outside a grocery store in Austin, Texas. Damien Cross had been a billionaire for 20 years, but he'd only been truly rich for 5, ever since a homeless 8-year-old boy looked at his watch and said 4 words that changed everything. That's my dad's watch. What started as a moment of cruelty, stepping over a child begging for help, became the catalyst for redemption, family, and love. Damien had everything money could buy, but it took losing it all, his pride, his certainty, his belief that he was untouchable, to find what actually mattered. If this story changed how you see success, family, or second chances, drop a comment. Tell us about a time someone saw you when everyone else looked away, or a time you chose to stop and help when you could have kept walking, because the world needs more people who stop, who listen, who see, more people who choose to be Isaiah and Nia's champions, not because it's easy, but because it's right.